Hello, Tamara here from Posh Cat Crafts. Thank you for joining me. In today's video I'm going to be making up another page in our box page album. This is using the new memory book dies from Tonic. This is their second release, and I've adapted it to make my spine bigger. If you want to see how to do that, then head back to part 1, and that goes through a step-by-step guide in how I made the spine wider than what the die actually cuts. I'll put the link up there in the corner, and just click on that, and then that'll take you to part 1. So what I've done in this memory book so far is I have two box pages that are the same. Okay, so one I make off camera to show you, and then one we make together. So I won't go through all the pages that I've made because they're on previous videos, so head over to those and see them. But we're looking at this page here. This is box page number 5, and this is the page we're going to make today. Now I have used other dies apart from Tonic in this because I think it's nice to give a variety, because we haven't all got one manufacturer's brand of dies. We've got loads, so I really just wanted to show that any dies, any manufacturer's dies will work with this memory book. Okay, so if we open it up, so again it's just the box page, so we've got a 1/2 inch width to our page, so that gives so that we can fill it with a lot more things. So that's sort of the outside, but one difference that I've made with this box page that I haven't done with the others is I've just given it an extra flap on this side, because these ones here I've left blank. Okay, so I thought it would just make it, a bit more interesting, a bit more different. So I've added another flap on there, and that is closed with the magnetic closures as well. Now the magnetic closures, I have had a lot of people ask about them. I use a variety of different sizes, all circles, mind you. They just seem to sit better. I tend to use a lot of these ones here. These are 10mm by 1mm thick. I would suggest, if you use these ones, to use maybe 2 either side, so use 4 on one page, because although they're pretty strongish, if you've got a lot of cardstock and then paper on top, they kind of lose their clingability, if that is a word. They kind of lose that. So that's how I use 2. So those are one size that I use, and then I kind of go up to the next types. These were the other magnets that I use. These are a little bit bigger. These ones are 20mm by 2mm thick. These ones are a bit more stronger, so I tend to use these more if I know that I've got to go through a few layers of cardstock. So them there. And then these ones are bigger still. I think these are 30mm by 2mm thick, and again these are much stronger as well, although these ones are a bit more expensive because they're obviously bigger, but they kind of grab virtually anything. So that's the magnets. If you've got any more questions, I do answer everybody's questions, so just leave me a comment down below, and I will I'll answer them if I know the answer. If I don't know the answer, I will know somebody that does. So anyway, let's get on with our box page. So the magnets are holding this flap down like so, and then we turn it over and then open it out, and then in this one I've cut it in 3 slots into our card, into our paper, and then just added some tags to go in like that. Now these slots I made with these dies from Polka Doodles, and they make up different frames, so you've got different sizes of frames that you can make up. But what's neat about these is they are separate like that, so you can you know, make your frame as big as you want, really. So what I used is I used these two big ones to make up the bigger slots, but you could maybe just use, you know, one big one and then go down in size, vary in size, or go small to large on the way down. So you know, the possibilities with them are, you know, quite good. So, but again, I think other companies also do these as well. I haven't managed to yet work out if you can do them with any of the other dies. That's something that I might have to work on when I've got a bit of time. So those are those dies that make that. You could, if you haven't got a particular die, you could just use your craft knife or X-Acto knife and cut out your slit in the paper that way. That would also work as well. Now the tags here, these are new tags that the dies that I got from Graphic 45, and I bought these a few weeks ago and haven't been able to use them as yet, so this is their first outing, so I'm quite pleased with these. And they come in, there's 3 different dies, so, or 3 different sets. So this, you get one set like that, so that's the die for that set there, and then this is the die for the cogs, like so. And then you've got a bigger die and a bigger tag, and then a smaller tag, but I don't know what I've done with that. That's lying around here somewhere. But the smaller die comes with the larger tag set in that, and you also then get all these flowers, which I'm hoping I'm going to cut and maybe use them for our front cover. So that's those dies. But again, any tag die that you've got, you can use, or if you haven't got a tag die, you can just make your own tags. If you've got a corner rounder, like I've said in other videos, I've got a few different sorts. So these are the ones I can find at the minute, and these are called crocodiles, and these are from We Are Memory Keepers, and this is a crocodile corner chomper is what it's called. What a beautiful name is that. You're never gonna forget that. And then each side you've got a different width of corner shaper. So on this particular one you've got a 4-inch corner, rounded corner on this side, and a 1/2 inch rounder on this side. And if I just get a piece of paper, you can see how it just makes, so that's the 1/2 inch, it just rounds it off, and then that's the smaller inch there. Okay, and so it just gives you 2 different widths of corner. And then you get, they also do decorative corners as well, and they do a different variation of different decorative corners, so have a look around, you might see one that you like. This one is snub and the deco, so that's the snub, gives you that inverted corner, and then the deco gives you, oh, mine's probably a little bit blunt. There we go. Have to put it through some tin foil, and then that's the decorative, the deco corner there. Sort of rounds your corner, but then just gives you a different edge. So that's another way if you haven't got any specific dies for labels. Or you can just cut out a rectangle or a square and back that. And most people have got a hole puncher, a circle in the middle, put some ribbon through, and then you have your tag. So there are different ways that you can create tags if you haven't got dies. And so that's that page. And then this page, what I've done is I have made some sort of mini flaps. So we've got one here, and I've done them at 2 different sizes. So they've just added a bit more interest. So that's I've cut in the decorative border, and then they shut with the magnetic tags as well. And then this was made with the Rough It 45 die, that tag, so that sits in there. I'm going to make a few more just to stick in there. And then you open it up so you've got extra space there, and then another tag in that pocket there. Now this decorative die I made with a La La Land die that you get different size of borders. Okay, so depending on the size that you make, you've got a border to match, and these are quite good actually. I like these, but again, you can use, have a look at the dies that you've got in your stash, because have a look at with them fresh eyes, because you might see something in your dies that you've already got and you thought, oh yeah, I can use that as a border, or if I just mask that bit off or put it so that you don't cut all of it, you can then create your borders. And I have done that on previous videos that I've done, where I used a Tonic die, and it was an index box, and I just used the decorative edge off that by just some clever placing of your paper. So again, have a look at the dies and see what you've got in your stash. If you haven't got dies and you want to create a border, most people have got punches, so you can use a border punch, and that would create a nice border as well. So again, look at what you've got, because everything can be repurposed. So that's for that. And then I've just got a plain page here, and what I might do on that is I might just add some cream card, and so that you can do some journaling, maybe put some stamping on there at a later date. So that's the box page that we're going to make today. I think that is all that I need to talk about. One thing I have noticed, which you may want to do when you do your pages, is I have just used double-sided sticky tape. It is the high tack, the red tape, so it is the strongest that you can get. But unfortunately, here in the UK at the moment, we've had some extremely hot weather. And not that I'm complaining, because I love the hot weather. It's it's nice. We don't get enough of it. But what it does do is it makes your double-sided tape hot, so it might just start to come away. So what I would suggest doing is, if you're using the high tack tape, use a little bit of your PVA glue and some binder clips, and you won't get that problem. So on our page, we're going to need 3 of the base page dies, and again, this base page is the 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 width die. So this is the second largest base that you can get in the die set. So you'll need 3 of those, and then you'll also need 1 of the next size down page. So this is the 3rd largest die, and I'm sorry, I don't know what the measurement is of that off the top of my head. So let's measure it and we will find out. So that one is 4 1/4 by 7, sorry, 4 1/4 by 6 1/2, roughly. So that's the measurement of that page there. Now what I did on the page, you'll notice when you cut yours out, you will notice that it only cuts the die out on 3 sides. So this part here is left blank, so this isn't cutting edge, this edge here, and that's to allow you to make your pages bigger if you need to. So if you wanted to add a bit more of a hinge, you could do. So that's for that reason. So what I've done is I've just cut my paper that bit bigger, and then scored it at so half, I think that's half an inch, that might even be an inch. Now I've actually then scored it, yes, at 3/4 of an inch, sorry, I beg your pardon. So I've scored it at 3/4 of an inch, and then underneath here I've probably got another 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch cardstock that I've used as my glue tab, but we'll go in a bit more detail with that as we go through the video. So what I'm going to do now is I've got my trusty Gemini here at the side of me, and we will start with cutting our dies out. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, we're going to come to our smaller base page now that we need to cut. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure down 3/4 of an inch, no sorry, 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to measure to 1 1/4. So I'm just going to mark that with a pencil. So 1 1/4 there. So that then will allow for a panel here. Okay, so bring your page up to those marks and then tape your die down so that it doesn't move. So cut off the excess paper, so we're left with that. Okay, so that's what we're left with. I'll move this out of the way. That now. So what we're going to do now is we are going to, I'm just going to chop that off a little bit. So not so that it's right up to the edge, because I want to try and get this edge straight. Okay, so we know that this edge is straight, so what we're going to do is we're going to just use our trimmer, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring it down so that we just want to get a straight edge, but we obviously don't want to cut this bit off. So I think the easiest would be to do it here, like so, and just gauge it if you can, just like that. So that's one straight edge, and then the other, again, just going to come from that end, so that we don't chop this bit off. We just want to give this a straight edge, and then that should have hopefully given us a straighter edge. Okay, so we've got that at the minute. So now what we need is our scoreboard. We need to now measure from this line here. So you've got your cardstock butted up against this side of your scoreboard. So what we need to do is we need to mark 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to mark down there. So not mark, I beg your pardon, we're going to score. So score your card at 3/4 of an inch. That then should give you a good 3/4 of an inch for the panel. Now I can still see some of that pencil marks. I'm just going to give that an extra rub out. That's it, that's gone. So that there now is our card for our flap. Now, what did I put? So this is our base panel, our base card. Sorry, I didn't get these right. this is our base page, so that's going to fit onto our card like so, and then it gives you a nice border sort of around. You can make this smaller if you wish, it's entirely up to you. I just like it at that 3/4 of an inch. We're on to now our mechanism that is going to allow our pages to become a box page. So we need to make a hinge. So for the hinge you'll need a scrap bit of paper, but you'll need to measure it at 1.5 by 6 1/8. So 1.5 by 6 1/8, like so. So you're left with this. We need then to score at 1/2 inch, and turn your card round and score at 1/2 inch again, and then fold. And what we then need is 2 of our base pages, and you need then your double-sided tape or glue, whichever you prefer. So you need to then put your double-sided tape, needs to go on the outside of your hinge strip like so, and then again on this side like so. So we need 2 of our base pages, so I've got them 2 here, and I've worked out what side I want showing. Now this side, I've got the wrong side showing because we're not going to see that, because our extra one is going to go over the top. Now this is to act then as our hinge, to hide our hidden hinge, but more of that when we come to it. So I'm just going to put these the way that I want and take off my double-sided tape. Now I'm just going to do one side first of all. Needs to go like that. So for this you will need to place your hinge, so you'll need to score as level with the top of your page as you can, okay, like that. I don't know if you can see. Okay, that's a sign of level. Okay, and then just burnish it down so that it's burnished. Then we can take off our other side of the double-sided like so. Now this is where it becomes a little bit trickier, because you need to line it up with the bottom, and I think what I might do is I might just use one of my binder clips to clip that in place, and then you can then work on getting this then level. Okay, it's a little bit tricky. There we go, we've done it. That wasn't too hard. Okay, so then that then is the start of our box page. Okay, we've got that. Now we're going to put this page on, but this page is going to, we're going to put it on, but we're not going to glue down the bottom here, okay, because we'll still need to put it onto our hinge system. So if you glue this, you'll have nothing for it to stick to, because it's a hidden hinge, because you have one page that fits this side of the hinge, and then you have the other page that fits that side of the page, and then we glue them together. So, but before we do that, I am going to work out how we need to do this. Right, so what you'll need, if you place your page that you've made with the hinge to your right, and then the two open ends to your left, like so. This is going to go over the top, but before we put that on, we're going to add our flap. Now we're going to add the flap to the top, and it's going to fit over like so, and then the glue tab is going to be hidden by that page there. So what we need to do is, I'm just going to chop off the ends here, and I am going to make this a tiny bit smaller. Okay, not a lot, just about, so it's about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, you're not going to see this, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, right. Now for our glue, or our double-sided tape, needs to go on the inside of your flap. Okay, so this would be the outside there, and this is the inside. So put your glue or your tape onto the outside, like, oh, it sticks to everything, like so. So it needs to go on the inside, beg your pardon. I think I just said outside. Okay, take your backing off, and then we need to then position. So you get about 2 of the stitched embossed lines. I don't know if you can see them there, and you also get 2 the other side. That's how I sort of measure it. And then what I do, once I get it in the place that I want, I then stick down like so. So then that then is our flap that is then going to stick on like that. Okay, so what we need to do is, you need to put some double-sided tape along the bottom, but don't take the carrier strip off, leave that on. So we've put our strip of double-sided tape along the bottom there. So what we need to do now is, we're going to use some wet glue to stick along the top here, stick along this, and then stick along the 2 sides. You may need your binder clips to help it to adhere, but I can't find my, it's staring me right in the face. Now this glue has lasted me for ages. I've done 1, 2, 3 albums with this, so it's still going strong. So remember, if you put glue along the sides, along there like that, and lots at the top there, you could maybe put a double-sided strip along that, which may be better. Okay, don't go round these bits, because you'll need them to help. No, actually go round one, but leave the other one, because you will need them to help you maneuver them into place. Okay, so then all we need to do is just marry them up so that they are fairly level, and then stick down. And that's what the good thing is about using the wet glue, is you get that wiggability. Right, I'm just going to use some binder clips just to help these adhere into place. Okay, so that then is our mechanism or our page base done. So our next job is we're going to make up our mechanism that's going to hold our smaller flaps in place. So you need to cut this at 5.5 inches. Okay, so there's our 5.5. So cut that. Then we need to score it. And we need to score this at 1/2 inch down there like so, and then turn it round and score at 1/2 inch again. That then should leave 1/4 of an inch gap in the middle. Can you see? Like that. So we're going to fold that over and fold this over, and then this is going to act as our hinge. Okay, we're going to do a hidden hinge. So let's just burnish that down and burnish that down, and then we just need to put some double-sided tape on there, and I have got some thin double-sided. This is score tape. This is also another very, very good tape. Okay. Right, you could actually go for a 1/4 of an inch. I think this is 1/8 of an inch, but you could go a bit wider. Paper tool. Take that off. Off you come. Okay, and then find your middle or equal distance. This is a little bit tricky, so you just have to gauge it, and I think that is about right. And then burnish down. Make sure that you get it down properly. Okay, now what we need to do, we're going to make our tag holders that go over the top of those. So you'll need again some cardstock, preferably 12 by 12, because you need the width. If you haven't got 12 by 12, then what you could do is you could make this smaller, okay, and it will become apparent as I show you what we're going to do. So what then we need to do, this is a 5.5 wide, so we need to cut our cardstock at 4.5, like so. And then the next one I'm going to cut at 3.5. Okay, so we've got an inch difference, like so. Right, I'm going to actually need my bigger scoreboard for this. So if you haven't got a scoreboard, you can do it by measuring it. That's another way. But if not, I would urge you to get a scoreboard because they are a fantastic piece of kit, and it does take a lot of the guesswork out of your crafting. So once we've got our two pieces at 11.5. Now what we're going to do is we need to score them both, so they're going to be scored at both at the same size. So we need to score at 5.5. So down there like so, 5.5. Okay, and then we need to score at 11. Okay, so 5.5 and then at 11. Okay, so again at 5.5 like so, and then again at 11. Okay, we'll start with this one because this one's here. So what we need to do is I'm going to turn it around so it makes it a bit easier for you to see. So I folded it in half like so, and this is where this paper is fantastic for a visual aid to show you. So that's now been scored and burnished in half, and then we've got this flap at the end. Can you see? Now this flap here, excuse me, this flap here is going to be our glue tab. So what we need to do is we're going to just trim off again the diagonal like so, and then you won't get those bulky edges. Okay, then we need to fold this over, burnish, and then that then becomes our glue tab. So with this one do exactly the same. So again, just cut the edges off, not the edges, the corners off there. Fold it in half. There we go. We've got two different sizes, which is fantastic. We are going to now do our edges. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could glue this down, and I think it may be better to help it stick. So I think that's what we're going to do. So if you use your double-sided tape needs to go on the outside of your glue tab. Okay, and then what I would do is I would place it as near to the folded edge as you can, because in that way you will end up with not a gap so much at the top. There we go. So let me just cut that off. Fold that over because that is okay, and then let's push that down so that then is our lovely pocket that is going to be on our, it's going to fit like so. What I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to have to trim off the corners because I didn't allow for the glue tab, but that's not it. It actually then will give you a better fit. Right, so you then need to put your double-sided tape on your other label holder and take that off, and then you can stick them together. Now what I was going to suggest, which we could do, is we could actually give these another flap. We could actually add a flap to these if we so wanted, but there, so I'm just making sure that they fit. So that's a very snug fit, and then this one like so. Okay, and then that gives you a nice snug fit. Just checking which is our, so that then is it goes, so that's right, so that's how it's going to go. So now what we need to do is we're going to give these our decorative edge. Now remember, you use whichever ones you have got. They all work. You don't have to have these ones. So what we're going to do with this, so I'm going to place mine, how I do mine, that's probably very, right, that's probably a bit better, maybe. Bit of black card, and then you might be able to see. There we go, that's a little better. So what we need to do is we're going to place our cutting die, well on this one it's quite easy, with the point at the top. So I'm going to line it up with the point at the top and then the two sort of semicircles there. Okay, and I know that it's quite equal on my sides. Now this will cut out a little bit of your side, but your one, whichever you have, may not, but I don't mind it. It just gives it a nice sort of effect. So I'm going to stick that down, place that down. I'm going to place it this way because my die cutter seems to work better if you place things going long ways. Hopefully, yes. See, I've cut through the 2 pieces of cardstock. A little bit there could have done with going through again, but I'm not too fussed with that. And actually that's not too bad. It's not chopped too much off, so I'm quite happy with that. And you see, so that's my one side. Then we need to do the other. Same thing, just line it up and tape it down. I think mine gets new tape, so it's nearly out growing useless. So tip it through. Again, just that end bit, but we can just snip and that should get in. Yep. Right, so with those done, you now need to go away and pick out your pattern paper, what you're going to use. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to have a quick slurp of my tea and have a quick tidy up. We'll be back to cut our paper. So what we need now is our trimmer. I do apologise if I waffle. I do tend to waffle. I sort of say things as they come into my head, which sometimes isn't a good thing. Right, so what we need to do now is we're going to cut our paper to, I said this was 5.5, didn't we? So let me just re-measure it just to double check. So we said that was 5.5, which it is, and then I thought we would go with 5 3/8, so you just get a small border. So if we go with 5 3/8, now I need to think. So I need to cut my paper this way. 5 3/8, so 5 1/4, 5 3/8 is there, 5 3/8 is there. And right, what we're going to do is I just need to marry these up just to make sure that our spacing is about right. Yeah, I think that's okay. It's just going to give us a small border. Okay, you can go bigger if you want, it's entirely up to you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of sort of get it where I want it. Now you're going to have to do 4 of these, so 4 of your patterned paper in whatever you choose. So we're just going to make sure that I've got that spacing about right. Okay, so that's one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm then going to, right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the depth, which I think was, we said was 4.5, didn't we, on that one. And so let me just double check. So that's actually taking it down to 4 3/8. So we need to make that 4 1/4. So we're going to cut this down to 4 1/4, which is there. And just checking, and then cut. Fingers crossed. So that's perfect. Okay, beautiful. So we have to do 4 of those. Right, what we need to do now is we need to cut this at 3 and 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so that is there. So hopefully we've got all our pieces. So that's one. Okay, that's looking good. That's just what I like, that border. There we go. So there's that, and then those two. But before we stick them down, we're going to put on our magnets. So we need our base page, and what we're going to do, we can stick these on and then we can stick our magnets on afterwards. Now what I would suggest you do before you glue them down, glue it down to the page, is to put your double-sided tape on. You don't have to, it just makes it easier to do, but put your double-sided tape on both sides of your hinge because it needs to stick to both sides, like so. And there we are. Okay, so that's just burnish them down, make sure that they are nice and stuck. Okay, so now we can go ahead and assemble. So take your glue strips off. So I'm just going to place them as near as I can. Okay, I had to do a bit of a repair because what I did was I put this one, which is the smaller one, at the front, at the back. So what I've had to do is, I was going to take it off of the whole hinge, but I then decided to just take the whole hinge up. So I took the whole hinge up and I've just swapped it round. So now the smaller one's at the front and then the larger one's at the back. So it just goes to show, if you do make a mistake, it is easily rectified. Okay, so that's what we'll end up with. So we'll take we'll do the top one and just do the bottom and just do that. Okay, then just line them up and push them down and till they're in place, and then burnish. Okay. Now if you wanted to, you could have had extra tags in there, so extra flaps in here you could have added that could have opened that way. So you know, don't think that just that is it. You can, there's always an extra flap you can add here or there. Before we then put our pattern paper on, we need to stick our magnets on. Now as these ones are the 10mm by 1mm, So they are pretty strong, so I'm going to stick 2 there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them on the back of this one and then on the front of this one, so that they then stick like so. Now I'm going to just put a little bit of glue. Oops. Put that in the bin in a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to put a bit of glue and a bit of glue there, and turn that over. Why didn't I think of that earlier? Just using your pokey tool to grab them. Oh, there we go. Now, don't worry about the extra bits of glue, because that will, we're going to stick our pattern paper on. So I think that was that one. Yep. So if we stick this one on now, okay, now we need to stick these ones on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them onto, well, not stick them, I'm going to put them on to our page like that, and one of them has moved down, but that doesn't matter, that's okay. As long as it sticks this side, we're good to go. So that's 2 sides then, and then that's then glued to that. Can you see? Not glued, sorry, that's magnetised to that, which is good. So we're actually just going to put some on the back now, so that, that it sticks to the bottom here like so, and they should stick there. So put that down. The next part to our box page, we need to cut out our layer dies out of our pattern paper for our 4 big base pages. So we need to cut 4 lots of the die of the layer one, and then 2 of our smaller base card, our flap. But again, before we put this one flap on, we need to add our magnets to this. So I'm going to do that now, so that while I'm die cutting, the magnets have got time to set. So I'm going to again put 2, because these are smaller magnets, and I want to just make double sure that they're going to stick. So we'll just put that there, and then I'm just going to add 1 on the top there, and 1 on the, one on the top there, and then I'm just going to put some glue on the top, and then I'm just going to hold it down just so that it has time to stick. Okay. Right, so while that's setting, we're going to go ahead and cut out our layer dies. So I'm going to get cutting. So I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to cut the big ones first. So let's get cutting. two smaller layer dies using the pattern paper, and then we've cut out the 5. So then we've cut out 5 of our pattern paper and then 1 of the cardstock. And the reason why we had to cut out 5 is we need 4 of them to put on as our backing. So 1 there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we need then the cardstock one. We're going to glue this in a minute, and then we're going to stick the pattern paper over the top, and then this is what we're going to use. We're going to then die cut our slots into this one. And when we've cut the slots out, we can then put the other pattern paper behind it, and then that's going to show. Okay, so that's why we had to cut out so many. So let's get started. So I'm going to have this one as my top pattern paper. So I'm going to start by gluing that down. Now I would put on quite a bit of glue, because we're going to need it to be stuck. Okay. Like so. Now get our dies. I'm going to do a layered effect. So I'm going to do one at the bottom, like there. Then I'm going to do the next one smaller, and then the next one smaller still. I'm going to come down a bit further. So we just turn these round like that. Now you could, I suppose, maybe put these at an angle if you wanted to. You don't have to keep them straight. It's entirely up to you. And if you haven't got anything similar like this, then you can use, as I said, your craft knife or an X-Acto knife. I think I need a bit more. Right, so that's that then cut. So what we now need to do is we need to then get it onto our box page. I'm just making sure I've got the right page. Now we're going to put it this one. So what you'll need to do is get your box page that you've made up, and you need to have the opening on your right hand side. So how you would open your page needs to be on the right, and the spine needs to be on the left. Then you'll know you've got it the right way. Okay, so once you've turned it over like that, we're going to put our slot page on here. Now I said I was going to use that one behind, so, and then can you see how that then shows through? There we go, can you see? So what we're going to do, we're going to add our glue. Now we're going to add the glue onto our cardstock page, because we want to put glue at certain points. So we need to go all the way round first of all. So you need to go round the edges. Okay, like that. And then what we need is we need to then put our glue. So this is the top one. So we need to put glue at the top of the second one, the middle one, and then we're going to leave this free. Okay, oh sorry, no, and then we need to put glue along the top of the bottom one like that. Okay, so there we go. Can you see I've put the glue? So glue all the way around, and then glue on the top of the middle one, and then of the top of the bottom one like that. Okay, then we can stick that down. Okay, and then that then creates our slots. So we've got enough room to put our tags in. We're going to have to obviously a little tiny tag on that one, but it makes it just adds to the charm. So we're going to glue this in place. Again, put loads of glue and stick down. Like so. Okay, so then that is our slot page done. We're going to make up our tags, but what I thought I'll do is I'm going to just make them up using my trimmer rather than die cut them, to give you another idea of how you can do that. So these ones are done, and the same with the tags in there. So we can now add, so let's add, that one looks, no, I think I'm going to stick with the same. So we can now go and put our backing on, or pattern paper on that one there. And there we've sort of we've quickly decorated our pages. So that's the, so if this was in our, standing in our album, this is how it would be. So this page, this side here, we have the flap that flaps up, and then you've got a page there that you can put something on, and then this page is blank at the moment, and you open up and you've got your slots and then your tag holders there, and then this is free. Right, we're going to do our strip for the outside and also for the two panels on our flap. So we'll do the flap panels first. We are going to measure, so our panel we need to cut at 5/8 of an inch, so 5/8 of an inch by 5.5. So we can stick them in. That's one, and the other. Yeah. She might just swap these round. I've kind of cut this one, that one there, at a bit of an angle, so I'm going to recut that one. There we go, so that's in there, and then that just finishes that bit off there. So we just cut that again. So that needs to be there. Just make sure that is straight. There we go, that's better. and then we just need to do the outside one. So we are, I think this was 6, so we're going to cut this at 6 inches by 3/8, so 6 inches by 3/8. 6 inches. Let's just cut that bit off. There we go. So we need to cut at 6 inches, and then by 3/8 of an inch. So that's half. So that is quarter. That one there. And down, and let's hopefully, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so then we can glue that in place. Okay, so that then is our book page decorated. So now what we need to do is we're going to make up our tags to go in our slots. I'm going to write down so that we don't forget what the sizes are. So the bottom tag is 2.5 by 3.5. That's the bottom tag. Goes that way. The middle tag is 2.5 by 3, and that's the middle tag. And then the top tag is 3.5 by 2 3/8, and that's the top tag, TT. Right, so now what we need to do is we're going to round our edges, and I'm going to use the inverted corner decoration, and this one in mine is called the snub. Okay, and it just inverts the edges, so we get that type of effect. Okay, we could round some of the corners as well. So that's that one. So we're going to now we're going to cover them. So take that one off. So the top tag, we're going to cut our pattern paper at 3 3/8 by 2 1/4. Okay, that's our pattern paper at the top. That's top tag. Middle tag, we are going to cut our pattern paper at 2 3/8 by 2 7/8. That's the middle tag. And then the bottom tag is 2 3/8 by 3 3/8, and that's the bottom tag. Okay, so let's cut them out. We're going to have to cut out 2 of each. So no, sorry, if we cut out 3 of the pattern paper, and then the other side we'll do a cream cardstock. Okay, so I'm going to do the top tag first. So our pattern paper for our top tag is, so we need to cut it at 3 3/8. 3 3/8. Okay. Okay. This trimmer doesn't go all the way to the edge. It trims to the edge, but if you've got extra like of a border on yours 12 by 12, it doesn't seem to cut, but no matter. So that was 3 3/8, and then we need to do 2 1/4. 2 1/4 is that. Okay, and that's that one, I think. Okay, yep. So do the same with the corners, and then hopefully we should have a nice border. Yeah, like that. Okay. We can just do all our corners. Right, we've now cut all our pieces. Right, so let's glue them all together. Okay, that then is our tags done. So that is the middle one. Put it in there. That is the bottom one. In there like so. And then this is the top one. And then that goes in there like so. Okay, we're going to start on making our big tags now for our pockets. So the measurements are going to be 5 1/4 in length by 4 inches width, and that's the smaller pocket, and then the bigger pocket is the same. It is 5 1/4 in length, but this one is slightly bigger at 4 3/4, and that's the length. So let's cut them out of our craft card, and then we'll cut our pattern paper that's going to be a slightly different measurement. So we want 5 1/4. So let's just check to make sure that they fit nicely. Yes, there we go, that's a nice fit. Just a little bit of wiggle room in there to allow for your extra width, extra thickness of your pattern paper, and then the cream cardstock that's going to go on the back. There we go. So that's brilliant, and I like this, that you can just see that poking out the top. It looks quite good effect. Okay, so that's them done. So now we need to measure up for our pattern paper. So if our base measurement was 5 1/4, we're going to cut our pattern paper at 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, and then the same again, 5 1/8 by 4 5/8. That'll be our patterned paper. That's our patterned paper measurements. Okay, so put it up there so you can see. Patterned paper, that's our measurements. Now we need our corner chomper, and we're going to snub the ends, the edges, so we're going to use the inverted corner on this one. Okay, so let's stick these together. Right, now I just need to cut out the cream cardstock, and then this will be so I'm just going to make sure that they fit before we put glue on them. Yep, so snub the ends. Okay, snub this in. Okay, glue. I'm determined to finish this glue off on this album. That one. And this one. And there's our tags. We've put the cream paper on the back and the plain paper on the front, but you can have it that way if you want to. It's entirely your choice. So they just fit into our pockets like that, and then that's it. They stay in there, they're not going to move. So we've actually finished that. So what we now need to do is it needs to go into our album, and then that is the last page in our book. Right, so I need to put some more double-sided tape onto my hinge, because I had a bit of a situation with my hinge, and I think I had to pull it off. I think I maybe stuck it on wrong, so and I just didn't replace this, so we just push that down. And this tape is a 1/4 inch tape, if anybody was wondering. this is score tape, so this is quite another a good make of tape to buy. So we're going to take off our double-sided from there, and I might leave that one. Now let's take them all off. Okay, so now we need to put it in. So I'm going to start by taking off, because we put our double-sided tape on the inside, didn't we? So we need to do it where the flap, so this is our flap, is on your left hand side. And then what we need to do is marry it up, marry the corners of our page up to the edge of our spines, so on each side. Now I would just put one on first. Actually, I'm going to take that all off because that is getting in the way. Okay, so just push that on, hopefully, like that. Okay, so that side's on. Now to do the other. Okay, just going to have to do a bit of gluing on this one side, just where I've pulled it apart, but that's just a little bit of a repair. Okay, so that is all our pages done. Now I'm not too happy, I will say, with this last page. I think what I've done is I've probably put too many magnets on, so in too many different places. So what it's doing is it's trying to grab the magnets that are in different places. So I'm getting sort of like a lift with it, which I'm not too pleased, I'm not too happy about. I mean, it doesn't make any difference to the book, but what I would think I would do is I wouldn't put the magnets on the back here. I would keep them ones off. That's brought us to the end of our book. So we've done our 6 pages. So what's left now? We have got the back page, the inside and the out. We've also got the front page, the inside and the out, and the spine and the wrap closure that we've done. So if you've liked this video, then please give me a like, a comment. I love people's comments, I love to read them, and they brighten my day, and it knows that I'm doing something right. Please subscribe, and that will keep you up to date with all my videos in the future. And I have got some planned. I've also got some planned with a new venture that I'm heading into, but that's a bit of a secret, so I can't tell anything about that just yet. Check me out on social media. I've put the links down in the description. Just click on your chosen one, and it should hopefully, if I've done my job right, take you to your chosen social media platform. I think that is about it. So thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.